This episode of the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast is brought to you by the Podcast Reach System. Are you ready to exponentially reach more profitable customers? Launching and hosting your own show is your proven best solution for networking, client attraction, and establishing your celebrity expert brand. Visit www.podcastreachsystem.com and claim your rightful place as the leading star of your industry so you make a difference for your community, market, and audience. Welcome to the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast. Join us as we celebrate entrepreneurs, business creators, and brilliant minds who reveal what they are doing to make the world a better place by being part of it. Be sure to visit our website at www.brilliancepluspassion.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now sit back, lean in, tune in, get your notepad and 2 pens ready, and let's get started.
My name is Adam Homey. I'm your host, and I am honored by your wise decision to tune in and invest in yourself today. Right now, we are speaking with Syndee Hendricks, a good friend of mine, and let me tell you a little bit about her. Syndee is known as a certified business consultant, intuitive coach, author, TV host, course creator, speaker, and conference presenter. So there are so many things you can discover about her. She's got so many projects. She's got an amazing podcast of her own. She also does stuff with television, and there's just so much. Come to our website at www.brilliancepluspassion.com if you're not already there, and check out her full bio on the post about this episode. And with that, Syndee, welcome aboard.
Hey, Adam, how are you today?
Oh, couldn't be better. Could not be better.
Great. Thank you for having me on.
You bet. First question. How does the work you do make the world a better place for your clients, customers, and the world at large?
Well, you know, when you're helping someone overcome their obstacles and creating solutions, how much better does it get than that, right?
Yeah. That's
and of course, there's the other part of making more money.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a big believer that you can serve so much more from an overflowing cup than you can by giving your last dime.
Exactly.
You've heard that question. If you were given $100,000 to spend on growing your business, how would you spend it? Now, you're supposed to list all the technologies you'd buy and all the ads you'd spend on and the conferences you'd attend. I start by saying I'd pay off all the debt. And the reason is quite simple. It will release existing cash flow so that even if I don't realize returns right away on marketing investments, I've still increased my cash flow without having to make any changes that will enable me to try again. But if I take that $100,000 and blow it on a bunch of ads and softwares and such, and it doesn't work, I still got the debt and I'm still broke.
Yes.
So interesting way of looking at that. Now, all that's awesome. Tell us more about what you actually do in your own words, just so our listeners can understand.
Well, do you have a couple hours? Well, my favorite thing of what I do is I create books, online courses, radio shows, and things like that so that people can have either a takeaway if they don't have time for a coach or consultant, or when I'm working with them, it's a great takeaway for working on your own pace with what we're working on. I also use those things in speaking gigs and presentations and conferences.
That's great. So what, in your experience, with some of the, just tell us a few of the frequently asked questions that come up for folks who are currently going through their process of discovering their reasons to want to work with you?
Well, being highly intuitive, people always want to know how that fits in and works with the work I do. Well, it speeds it up is what it does.
Yeah.
And it also helps when people are in a bit of denial, which all of us are with certain things. And so it really helps to make the process move along quicker.
Yeah. What are some questions you wish people would ask?
Well, the number one would probably be when I first meet someone and they're interested in discussing working with me. I'm like, what question would you want to ask me that you are concerned about asking? Because there's always a question they leave with not asking, right?
Right. That's a very interesting approach. We've never heard anything quite like that before. That might actually win the award for most imaginative answer to this question, if we ever decide to do those awards, because we've gotten some really interesting insights over the course of the many interviews we've done for this project. So that is fantastic to hear. Now let's shift gears for a moment and give our listeners an opportunity to discover more about Syndee Hendricks as a human being. First question in that section is, what would people who know you be surprised to learn about you?
Well, a lot of people don't know that I'm highly intuitive. And when they find out, they're like, oh, really?
Yeah. Really?
Because I don't think you knew that either.
Yeah. What do you hope people say about you when you're not around to hear it?
Well, integrity is probably one of the most important things any of us can have, as long as it's high or good integrity. And I would hope that they would share that that's what they thought about me as a person.
Yeah. If you go back in time and change one thing you've done, one thing you've experienced, what would it be and why?
Well, that's an easy one for me. I wish I would have started my coaching and consulting business sooner, because my goal was to have experience in every kind of business entity and a diverse group of types of businesses, so that I would have a lot of experience to draw from. And even though I got extensive experience, that's been fabulous, but I really didn't need it all.
Yeah. I have an interesting experience like that too. After I got my MBA, I did the interviews and all that, the networking. My goal was ultimately to become, at the time, a director of training and development for a Fortune 100 company. Got a couple job offers, had a company that was going to create a position just for me, and I turned it all down. Reason being is I connected with one of my earlier business mentors who, at this point in his journey, owned a training and development firm. So I started doing some freelance work for that. Caught the entrepreneurial bug. Same time, still had the full-time job that I had held down throughout MBA school, and got diagonally promoted there. So there was actually a little bit of a push and pull for a while, deciding which path I was really going to take. Now, I had a really bad day, and I basically, and I've said this 100 times, I'll say it 200 more times, I don't care, where I discovered what a moron my boss's boss really was, and how they were an albatross to any my future development. And they basically made my decision for me in such a way that I'm not even going to give them credit in my autobiography for giving me the kick in the butt. That's how little credit I'm going to give them. So I called up this client of mine, the one I mentioned, who was also my personal and business mentor, and I told him about it, and he made me an offer. He said, and this happened on a Friday. So he said, what I want you to do is I want you to go to work Monday and quit your job. Prove to me that you no longer work there, and I will immediately PayPal you $3,000.
Wow.
Now, and he also clarified, it was not in advance. It was not a loan. It was not something in exchange for services to be named later. It was a gift. Now, here's the part where we get to what I would do again. I would have taken the money. I didn't have the belief system for myself, or the understanding of what I didn't know, or what questions to ask about it, to understand that $3,000 was actually more than I would have needed to make that jump if I had done it right then and there, because of all the other things I had lined up and just some fortuitous circumstances in my situation overall. If I had to do that over again, I would say, yes, thank you, blessing. Give me that $3,000. In fact, I might have said, hold on a second while I email my boss to tell them I quit and CC you on it, so I can get that money tonight and we can get started tomorrow. That's how I would have done it. The point being is, understand that people have different motivations. His motivation, candidly, and he told me this, was that the sooner I could quit that job, the sooner he and I could do a lot more stuff together. So he viewed giving me that gift as an investment in being able to accelerate his business. That's why he didn't want anything in return. It was not an advance against services to be named later or anything like that. That was him making a capital investment in his business. So it was actually motivated from a place of selfish motivation, which is sometimes, for lack of a better word, good. So if I had to do it over again and I had those understandings, I would have taken the money and run, and I probably would be at least a couple steps ahead of where I am right now. I cannot change that, just like you can't change what happened with you. What we can do as business creators, as those who serve from our intersection of our brilliance and our passion, is share these stories so they may inspire others
Exactly.
to see what's in front of them and to be their voice for things that they themselves cannot say out loud or even sometimes say privately to themselves.
Exactly.
That's where we have the power. Now, what famous person, alive or dead, would you like to meet, and what questions would you have for them if you had the opportunity?
That's an easy one too. Earl Nightingale.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with Earl, but
yeah, sure.
He really helped form my mind and thinking when I was just 18 years old.
Yeah. So what motivates and inspires you to keep going when you're having a tough time or facing a challenge?
Well, I have all of his CDs, so sometimes I'll listen to one of those. But in my business, I'm a solutions person. So I do a pretty good job of my own solutions when I run into a roadblock.
Great. So finally, and I know you have an invitation for our listeners, and I will share that with them for you. But in general, right now, what is one action you would encourage our listeners to take as they finish streaming this episode?
Well, I would tell anyone, not just listeners, but if you don't have a coach today, you really should invest in someone that you resonate with, because a coach is someone who can see your blind spots, help you get on a different track or a different thought process to help up-level yourself. And then that's how you can do it with the coach, is to get to a level that you couldn't get on your own.
I have a very high level of agreement with that, and here's an analogy I use. We are familiar with the metaphor of the light at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. So we're in the tunnel, it's dark, and we see the light at the end. The coach is outside the tunnel looking in, seeing us oncoming with our headlight. For those of us who are coaches and are consultants, we can have our clients come to us with their questions, their concerns, and their problems, and we can solve them. And yet, we need coaches to help us do the same thing. How many times have I said to my own coach when I've asked him for help with languaging, or I've asked him for help with scripting or something like that, which is something that I do for people, I've said, candidly, if somebody had come to me with that question, I would have known to say that. But the fact is, quite simply, I'm in it. So exactly. I don't have the same view. And that right there is the value of coaching. So even if you know what you're doing and you're really good at it, actually, that's especially a good reason to have a coach.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I want to first of all thank you so much for being with us here today. It's been great. And before you go, here's what I know you want to share with our audience. If you're looking at the video version of this, you can see it on your screen right now. For those who are out jogging, the domain is imaginemoresuccess.com. That's imaginemoresuccess.com. And what you're going to find there is the opportunity to get 26 tips on life and business delivered to your inbox weekly to help you along your journey. So with that, Syndee, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been an honor, and believe me, an education.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Thank you for tuning into the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast, where we celebrate entrepreneurs, business creators, and brilliant minds who are making a difference for their community, market, and audience. Remember to visit our website at www.brilliancepluspassion.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast.